Welcome to Life Isn't Lived on a Spreadsheet with Ryan Poterack from Poterack Capital Advisory. You have unique values, objectives, fears, life experiences, and biases. Any financial professional who ignores or minimizes the importance of your story may not be able to help you achieve your ideal outcomes or hit your goals. It's time to experience the PCA difference. In this podcast, we help business executives, soon-to-be retirees, and solutions-based individuals overcome the anxiety leading up to their upcoming years. We do this by initiating in-depth discussions about the financial aspects of retirement, like tax planning and asset allocation, alongside, and often overlooked, personal and lifestyle aspects. Join us for this journey where we explore retirement from a contrarian point of view, as Ryan draws from years of experience and qualified guest professionals to help you explore the true purpose of your money in retirement and the impact you want to make in your golden years. Ryan Poterack and Alec Quaid offer investment advice through Private Advisor Group, which is a federally registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Private Advisor Group and Poterack Capital Advisory are separate entities. This information is not intended to be a substitute for individualized legal or tax advice. Please consult your legal or tax advisor regarding your specific situation.
Choosing the right wealth manager takes thought and effort by all the parties involved. Remember, this relationship will involve your assets, family, and dreams, and hopefully last a long time. Ryan Poterack, you created Poterack Capital Advisory. Who do you usually work with?
Hey, Patrice. I guess first off, we work with good people. Life is too short to work with not nice people. So that's the first thing that comes into my mind. Now, as things have played out, usually people who have had their 50th birthday. So people who are, retirement is not such an abstract 2 or 3 decade off objective, but it is on the horizon. And that is not to say we don't work with a lot of nice people who happen to be in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. It's just at that stage of life, there's a lot of big decisions. You know, when do you walk away from employment? When might you turn on Social Security? When might you turn on your pension if you have one? There's a lot of angst and nervousness around, do I have enough to walk away from employment? Because typically when you walk away from employment in your late 50s, sometimes in your 60s, and realize at some point after that you maybe don't have enough, you're not going to see a line of people begging you to come back.
For sure.
So there's a lot more tax planning. So just as what I enjoy and to bring our expertise fully to bear, it's people in that phase of life that we tend to help the most.
All right. Well, helping them, what is your process in a nutshell now? How do you bring these people in? How do you know they're a fit? And how do they know you're a fit? And where do you go with it?
Well, I would say our philosophy might be we want to make sure it's an excellent match. In other words, whoever the couple or the family that we're speaking to, can we at PCA provide exceptional value? Are the circumstances line up where we can provide value? And is there a connection? That has to be there. Now, that usually takes place in an initial 30-minute Zoom. So we have an opportunity to see each other. We're asking some questions. I want to get a sense of their situation. I want to make sure if they don't ask, or maybe they're hesitant to ask, I will share with them how we're compensated, how we might differ versus the rest of the industry. But in short, I would say, Patrice, that our process is more time and due diligence up front to make sure it's a good match for the people that we're talking to and for our firm before we start, moving accounts or making recommendations or any of that stuff that other large firms tend to get in after a meeting or two, kind of jump right into that, here, let's transfer your accounts.
Yes. Now you say you work with nice people, or you want to work with nice people.
Yes.
What answer gives you that sense of this is a good person?
Well, so some characteristics are being open-minded, being intelligent. One thing that might be old school, but just courtesy. Just being respectful, manners, that sort of thing. I mean, just being real when I connect with people. I mean, I don't waste a moment trying to convince people to do something they don't want to do. But sometimes, initially meeting somebody, maybe they've not had the best experience in the industry, and they kind of come into it thinking that it's some kind of a debate. So just you know good energy and good people when you're interacting with them.
It's true.
Yes. So maybe some examples of where we're not a good fit is if we're getting acquainted and the person I'm speaking to wants to go on and on about how much they know about investments and about this and that. And well, great. Sounds like you know it all. Sounds like I can't help. God bless. For people who have their ego in check and realize that they might not know everything is just a great way to start.
All right. And on the other side of it, why is it so important for the client to like you? Not that anybody would not like you, Ryan, I must say.
Well, I learned a long time ago. My wife taught me that not everybody likes me. I was shocked by that. And then I realized, funny you ask, and then I realized, there in life, there are people that you meet and through no fault of their own, just, I don't know what it is. You're like, I don't think I really like that person. And I have to share this. And some people in the audience that know me will say, oh my gosh, you're trotting that out again. But my grandfather, my mom's father, used to say years ago, Patrice might be old enough to know, John Davidson, the entertainer.
Yes.
Yeah. Singer, variety shows.
Clean cut looking guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my grandpa, his name was Ansel. I mean, he didn't know John Davidson from anything, but he just didn't like him. And he used to say, and this is the line I like to get to, he said, I wish I could buy John Davidson for what he's worth and sell him for what he thinks he's worth. And that's always stuck with me as kind of a fun comment. But my point being, and thank you, audience, for giving me a minute to take a circuitous route there, but some people we just don't have a connection with. But where the value is from a potential client or client of ours in connecting with me and my team is, aside from the numbers in the spreadsheet, hopes, dreams, and fears are very personal. And you don't tend to share the very personal stuff, or at least in an uninhibited way, unless you're comfortable with somebody. So if you have an advisor who's a financial genius, just knows everything, but they're, cold as a block of ice, and they don't have an emotional IQ, which can lead to good questioning, by the way, which can lead to good listening, which can lead to good follow-up questions. I think the qualitative aspect of matching a plan with a couple that on the surface looks exactly the same as another couple, but different values, that's the art of what I do. There's a lot of science, a lot of spreadsheets. I love it, a lot of technicals, but the art that goes with the science is that connection. And so I really think it is important, just like the relationship that some in our audience might have, or you might have, Patrice, with a physician or any other trusted advisor. It's important. Now, that difference, that unique difference, that unique connection has to be experienced. And therein lies a challenge in what I do, because if I'm just getting acquainted, I literally just met these people, we're getting acquainted for 20 or 30 minutes, they don't necessarily get that, because that kind of trust, that kind of connection relationship-wise takes time. Just like the other, your good friends or your spouse or whatever, that takes a while. So maybe I got a little off course there, but
No.
I think there is value, even when I'm face to face, which can be in a Zoom. If we have that kind of connection, I can recognize body language. I can recognize a reaction to a comment and follow up on it in a way that if we have a robot who's great at the technicals and all of that, doesn't recognize.
You're so right about the EQ, the emotional intelligence there. It's critical to working with people.
It is. And now I'll temper it with, you don't want somebody who's dumb as a box of rocks, who's just a great person to be around. And, yes, we can't have too many good friends in this world, but the expertise, the experience is also important. So I guess there's two sides of it, like I've referred to, the art and the science.
Absolutely. All right, now let's take the art and the art science and we're going to put it together. Talk to me about the importance of planning not just for, but in retirement.
Well, as soon as a person or a couple stops working, stops employment income, they in large part have complete control over what their income is going forward from a tax perspective. So their lifestyle is their lifestyle. Maybe they need $6,000 a month. Maybe they need $15,000 a month for their lifestyle. But once you retire, the source of their lifestyle is not employment. But now we get into, okay, you had the 401k or other pre-tax accounts like IRAs, 403bs. So that's one source, but every dollar we pull out is subject to ordinary income tax, just like their paycheck when they were going to work. So heavy tax load. They may have Roth 401k, Roth IRA as a different pot of money that if they pull it out is completely tax-free. So those are all their dollars. And then you have after-tax accounts where that you put in after-tax money, so you're only taxed on gains. But all three of those type of accounts are taxed very differently. And so if we're pulling out whatever they want on a monthly basis to live their lifestyle, they're having the same amount of fun no matter what bucket we pull out of. But we get to manage the taxes. Social Security, when do we turn on that? Once we turn that on, we have a threshold of income. It's taxed even differently than those three buckets of money. I already mentioned it. So planning in retirement gets into tax planning in a large way for us. We invest a lot of time and money on my team in tax planning, also income planning, transitioning from growth while you're working into income planning. And that's an area where I would say the industry, the entire financial industry is focused on certainly investing in growth, and that's kind of the sexy part of it. But I would say in many cases, a fraction of wealth managers and advisors are really qualified to set up an income plan, because there are different risks in retirement. Will you outlive your money? Longevity risk. Well, that's not a risk when you're 40 years old trying to accumulate money per se. It becomes a risk when you're pulling from your savings and investments in retirement, and maybe that's how things have changed. Maybe you'll live to 95 or beyond. Mm-hmm. That's what I find most interesting is the planning just before retirement, the transition, which a lot of that goes back to the emotional IQ you and I were just touching on, because we can have a very intelligent couple, well accomplished, wealthy, but you can't get away from the anxiety and the fear of leaving your employment for the last time and not being sure if you have enough for a 3 or 4 decade retirement. So there's just a lot of creativity and a lot of control that the client and me and my team have in terms of where we take income, the tax ramifications of that, and so on.
In your experience, that transition fascinates me. And in your experience, how long does it take, on average, for someone to leave the job for the last time and finally feel comfortable?
It's a great question. We talk about it all the time. I would say a minimum of 3 years. There's always outliers, but I would say anywhere from 3 to 6 or 7 years.
That's quite a span of time there.
And that's at the point where a person is comfortable spending their own money.
Right.
I've been doing this for 34 years, so it just kind of is like breathing to me. It's very natural. Now, if we have clients, let's say hypothetically that they end up retiring at 62, so 3 to 7 is okay. At 65 or beyond, they're going to be comfortable. If they've been a client for a while, and that's why I say in the pre-retirement, I've already been coaching them. It is very common with clients that I'm working with in their mid 50s and beyond, but not yet retired, that even if in all of our planning, and we're always very, very conservative, Patrice, in all of our assumptions. As I put it this way, if there's a metric or a variable that is positive, we're always going to round down. Even when we do our planning and we start with all of our clients are going to live to age 95, and a lot of them laugh, oh, I don't think I've got that much mileage left. That's the conservative approach, because if our client doesn't run out of money by 95, we know they didn't run out of money at 85 or 75. But it typically takes, from the first time I tell this working couple, you made it, you're past the finish line, it's not even a close call, you absolutely can retire. It takes 2 to 4 years before of redundancy in that messaging for them to really build up the courage to pull the plug.
Sure.
Now I frame it as courage, Patrice, but for some people at that point, they're making the most money they've ever made in their life. They're in a position where they can make that money and, at least in conventional terms, not work as hard as when they were grinding in their 30s and 40s. And to walk away from that kind of income, and because it's still income, but health doesn't tend to get better. So that's part of the coaching as well. But there's a pre-coaching to convince to retire when it's legitimate and not a close call that they can. And then there's still that overhang of nervousness. If I've had a chance to pre-coach, it might be closer to the 3 years where they have the freedom.
Sure.
If I meet somebody and say, yeah, I'm considering retiring in the next 18 months to 2 years, that's a little bit different.
It's a little bit different when it comes to the planning too. Yeah.
Well, now it's triage.
Yeah.
If we knew each other 10 years ago, we could start feathering stuff in over time.
All right. You're talking about, you mentioned pensions there, and I started thinking retiring today is so different from our parents, our grandparents.
Yes.
We don't have pensions anymore. We're doing it ourselves. And actually, for the baby boomers, I think that's the first generation that really had to do it totally on their own.
Yeah. Unless you're in the public sector. Yep.
That's true.
Yep.
What do you see here?
I've always found this somewhat fascinating. So you have Social Security that most all of us participate in, and that's a guaranteed income for life that you cannot outlive, which the words I just said are very similar for a pension. The advantage for a pension is it's an income stream for as long as you live, and it doesn't matter if the stock market goes up, stock market goes down. So that's the virtue of a pension. But for those that don't have it, very similar to Social Security. However, you don't have any principal there. So that's the limitation. If you work all those years and you do have a pension and then you die, nobody gets anything. Well, companies moved away from that because it became very expensive.
Right.
If you're talking about a lifetime income and you have an environment where people are living longer, so you mentioned our parents and grandparents or whatever, well, the life expectancy might have been 65. And now with the life expectancy, there were promises made, which is what a pension is at a company, of income for life, but that money's got to come from somewhere. The company still has to fund the pension. And so as people are living longer, the liability to the company became a whole lot more than what they might have planned on early on. And so in the evolution, they said, well, these uncertain liabilities as we're running our business, not a good thing. So let's go to a 401k model where now it's on the onus is on the employee to opt in and participate in the 401k. Now the company, generally speaking, but not in all cases, if they're making contributions, the company will have a match. So they're still putting money in there, but it's really changed the landscape where there's more personal responsibility required. And we have artificial intelligence and a lot of changes, but I certainly don't think there's ever going to be a replacement for a qualified advisor in my industry. Yeah. Pure and simple. Yeah, but it's required more discipline.
Well, AI doesn't have that EQ either.
No, it definitely doesn't.
No.
It plays a role. We use it in various areas. There are some efficiencies, but yeah, the EQ is not there.
No, and as you said, AI does have a role. We've just got to learn how to use it to its best advantage and our advantage.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, how can people reach you, Ryan? Because When it comes to retirement, planning obviously plays a huge role in making a successful transition and chance to spend your own money.
Well, we are a completely independent fiduciary firm, and so we look at each partnership with an individual family couple as unique, and that's a part of what we do that starts in the initial contact, which you can reach us. You can always call our number at area code 704-366-5776. We're a 100% virtual firm, so Zoom is my world, but you can also reach us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter as well. And these podcasts, prior podcasts, this podcast will be, along with blogs and other information, at our website, www.poterack.net. That's POTERACK.net. So a variety of ways to get in touch with us, start to look at some of our content. But if you'd like to get acquainted with me, the first step is Anna Hopkins in my office, who's worked with me for over 17 years, sets up a 30-minute Zoom. We get acquainted as an initial visit.
Anna is wonderfully efficient too. I'll tell you that.
She's awesome.
Yeah, she is. She is.
Yep.
Indeed.
Yep.
All right, look, listeners, make the effort to find a wealth manager that you like and who shares your goals. Follow this podcast, Life Isn't Lived on a Spreadsheet. And of course, please share with others. I'm Patrice Sikora, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you for listening to Life Isn't Lived on a Spreadsheet. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. To ask questions about topics covered during the show or get a copy of Making It Count, Life Isn't Lived on a Spreadsheet by Ryan Poterack, visit www.poterack.net or give us a call at 704-366-5776. The information covered and posted. Welcome to Life Isn't Lived on a Spreadsheet with Ryan Poterack from Poterack Capital Advisory. You have unique values, objectives, fears, life experiences, and biases. Any financial professional who ignores or minimizes the importance of your story may not be able to help you achieve your ideal outcomes or hit your goals. It's time to experience the PCA difference. In this podcast, we help business executives, soon-to-be retirees, and solutions-based individuals overcome the anxiety leading up to their upcoming years. We do this by initiating in-depth discussions about the financial aspects of retirement, like tax planning and asset allocation, alongside, and often overlooked, personal and lifestyle aspects. Join us for this journey where we explore retirement from a contrarian point of view, as Ryan draws from years of experience and qualified guest professionals to help you explore the true purpose of your money in retirement and the impact you want to make in your golden years. Ryan Poterack and Alec Quaid offer investment advice through Private Advisor Group, which is a federally registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making